Hello, my fellow humans, and welcome to this podcast. What's one leadership lesson you've learned the hard way, and how has it changed the way you approach work and life? Today's guest is Cory Dunham, an executive coach and keynote speaker who helps high achieving founders and executives bridge the gap between outward success and true fulfillment. With decades of experience guiding leaders to align their work with their values and purpose, he specializes in transforming challenges into opportunities for growth, meaning, and lasting impact. Cory, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Justin.
It's very good to have you here. It's a long time coming. I'm excited for this episode.
Yeah, likewise. Likewise.
So please tell us a little bit about your journey that you've been on and how you're helping other human beings out there.
Yeah, so a long time ago when I was younger, it was most of my life has been kind of a quiet life since I've been introverted, quiet, and kind of low self-esteem in so many different areas. So I never wanted to be seen. I kind of want to be hidden as I look back on my life. And over the decades, through being mentored by other people, through experiences, through creating a better environment that I'm in that supports me, I've learned from a lot of different people in all walks of life, even my kids, that there's so many ways to live your life. And one thing I was trying to do is kind of just almost trying to get through it without having too many, what do you call it, challenges, or too many failures, anything like that. I was so afraid that I would look so bad because I was always focused on myself and my self-esteem that I was focusing on the wrong thing. But through that journey, I've been able to figure out, hey, there's so much I've been able to learn, my growth, taking action, and also to being able to inspire and influence other people, which I never thought I could do.
I really resonate with that. I feel that really hard. I look back on my journey in my life and look at both of us. We're in front of a camera now, speaking to a lot of people, trying to help them get to where they need to be in their lives.
Yes.
Complete 360. Isn't life amazing?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I always think about that sometimes. Like, I used to be like shy. I used to like not want to show myself to people, like you were saying. And it's just when you look back on that and you're like, wow, look at me now. You just think, whew, how'd that happen?
Yeah.
But all that work, I mean, you must have done in order to get to here. Really profound.
For me, a lot of that, at least really tapping into that over the last few years, especially, and then even before that, has been one big influence for me has been my faith and kind of my inner values of what's most important to me. And I know everybody has those different values, those different qualities, those things that make sense for them. And to me, I've been kind of disconnected from my faith or not sharing it, being afraid to be canceled or poo-pooed or whatever. And finally, just really tapping into it and being authentic and real with myself first, which then I could open up more to really finding out authentically who other people were and to being vulnerable and allowing other people and setting that example, saying, hey, let's connect on a deeper level and maybe be a little bit vulnerable, share some things and realize we're all humans. You know, we were just talking about AI before we started here, and there's so much technology going on these days. I think people are forgetting to
Yes.
invest in themselves and to be human.
Alignment, because so many of us are out of alignment with who we are. Our identities don't really line up who we're trying to become. And it's a really tough place to be in. And like you said, especially being human, that's the most important foundation of anything that we're trying to do. Like when we wake up in the morning, we should be like, look in the mirror, be like, I'm a human being. Give ourselves grace so we can move on with our day. Like, whew, it's just powerful saying I'm a human being. I would love to dive into some of the things that you've done to help other people become successful too on your journey, because I know success looks different to all of us. And like you were saying earlier, that it's very important to do it for what lines up with you, not how everyone else is doing it. What did that look like for you?
Yeah, for me, it's been a journey and it still is a journey. And I'm always trying to improve on how I can help others. And how that usually starts is how can I help myself to both see more clearly, to have clarity on all the different areas of my life, whether that's personal life, you know, my relationships, my health, my energy, things that my passions, and all different types of things, plus business and work and financial goals. And also my, down the road, where do I see myself? Because the goals you set or the vision you have long term, whether that's 10 years or 30 years from now, that's really going to set a track for you to start today. Because if you don't start today, you're not going to get to, let's say, 65 or 70 years old, and then all of a sudden say, hey, I'm going to start pursuing my goals of what my retirement or what this part of my life looks like, because you're kind of going to be behind, a little bit behind in many different areas and being able to start. And one saying comes to me that the question has been posed that what's the best time to plant a tree? And if people know the answer, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. When's the second best time to plant a tree? Today.
Next
So if you
week?
don't,
Today.
yeah, right, right. That's how I used to think too. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. And
Yeah, tomorrow.
procrastination was a big thing for me. Realizing it's like, wow, I procrastinated so much. It turned into years and it turned into decades. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my gosh, 20, 30 years has passed and I'm still thinking about, oh, I'm going to start that. I'm going to pursue that. I'm going to become that. And come to find out that never happens if we never take action today. So the best time to take action on many things, and of course you want to be thoughtful and plan, but you got to get to maybe 70% of clarity and certainty, and then you got to start taking action. Otherwise, if you try to get any higher, you might just be wasting resources because you learn a ton as you take action. And I've heard that
Ooh,
from
that's
many
so
people.
true.
Yeah, saying that the most I've learned is by taking action, and then you can tweak and you can revise and update that all your actions, your decision making, your clarity if you're taking action. So be action minded.
I love how you said that you have to be just 60 or 70%.
Mhm.
I actually just recently heard someone talking about, I believe it was either Google or Amazon,
Mhm.
where how those CEOs of those companies were only at 60% and they took such action to get to where they are now. And people don't see or understand that very well. Like, I have to be 100. I have to make sure this is going to work. None of those guys are sure anything was going to work, but that you said they took action that moved them forward, started. It's hard sometimes to understand how to start, where to start, but you just have to start. Like, I found myself there for a while. I just couldn't start very well. I couldn't figure that out. It was really hard. I was just like, I'll lay on the couch. I'll eat some potato chips. I'll watch Netflix. 10 years passes by. Where has my life? That's a scary
Exactly.
place to be.
It is, and especially today. I'm from a little bit old school since I'm in my later 50s, and I have some new school,
Nah.
which is which is all the technology is the new stuff. But my point on that is back in the day before we had the internet, all we had was pretty much our influences from school during the daytime, then any activities afterward, whether that's sports or whatever, and then our family and kind of neighborhoods, very limited to roughly three major categories of activity or things that occupy our mind. Now we push forward into the early 2000s, 20 something years ago. Now all of a sudden we've got email, our phones, our devices, all these, streaming channels, TikToks, everything that's unending.
Information overload.
Yes, yes. And then if we never get out of that cycle of always having input, 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 it's hard to both reflect. It's hard to clarify your values because you never have time to really think about them. And all of a sudden, instead of you running your life is kind of running you, or your environment is running you.
I love how you said that. I was having a conversation with someone today about people like on their phones walking around like zombies and they're not
Mhm.
paying attention. And then we went into discussing how sometimes you have to just give yourself space and tell yourself it's okay so you can process and understand what's going on, but you have to put the devices down. Some
Yes.
people don't like to be alone with their thoughts. They're like, oh, it's too loud. But it's one of those things you have to learn. It's a learning process. So I was doing that for the longest time. Loud TV, loud devices. But now I can like lay in bed and there's this calmness and it's peaceful,
Yes.
but it takes time. You have to build up those skills, not something you're born with. People think they, I'm not so born with this, so I can't do it. But that's complete opposite. It's so weird how we came to be that way as human beings. We
Yeah, it's
have to learn things.
yes, yes. No, I totally agree, and it's tough when you're, which is one reason, I'm an executive coach, but I also have a ton of coaches that I've worked with along the way that have coached me, and I still have some coaches in many different areas of my life. But the whole thing on it is that we all have blind spots. And just like you were
Yeah.
saying, with distraction and the way our life is, we don't realize those blind spots unless sometimes it's somebody outside of us that maybe questions that the blindness we may have and looks at us and says, "Hey, we have some challenges or we want to make some changes in life, but we seem to be kind of procrastinating or moving slowly on those things." And a lot of times, hearing from somebody else, whether it's a friend or whoever it is, just to say, "Hey, have you thought about clearing out some space so you can pursue those things that you're passionate about or that are important to you?" And some of that clearing out of a space I found for me and I found for other people I've worked with is your mind. You got to start with your mind first. That growth mindset, your clarity, and everything goes, it's a filter. And if things don't filter properly through your mind, or you don't see yourself as being worthy or enough to pursue something and have a
I
chance at
feel
succeeding,
that so
it's amazing, and I never thought about that, but over the years, I've pondered that. I'm like, "Wait a minute, can I just start writing a book and become an author? Can I start flying an airplane?" Which that was one of my questions, and I have a private pilot's license because of that. And I
hell yeah.
should not be a pilot based upon the way I think and not liking heights, never liking roller coasters growing up, all kinds of things. And I've never been persistent at pursuing a goal, but I've had currently a pilot's license for 34 years or since 1991. Yeah, I guess 34 years at this point. And
Damn.
a lot of these things I've achieved almost by accident and finding out some of these success principles when I was younger, but didn't really harness or jump on some of those things. But yeah, truly
Yeah.
focusing on your mindset, your beliefs, your habits, those types of things. And just a real quick side note, I can't remember who I read it
Yeah.
from, but they were talking about with your body and super athletes, super extreme athletes like David Goggins, is that your body can do so
That
much
guy.
more. Yeah, oh, I know, it's crazy. But your body can do way much more than you think it can do. It's usually your mind that limits what you think your body can do. So you have to train yourself on a regular basis to overcome some of these challenges that have held you back.
Oh, it's so well put, very well said. I love that. I've been understanding that more lately myself. I was reading a book that was telling me about you have to do the thing to overcome the thing. You can't just sit there and
Yes.
think about the thing. You have to get up there, you have to start doing the thing. So when you do the thing, you're like, oh, I'm doing it now. Okay, now I overcame it. It's like going to the gym. Like, oh, I want to go to the gym today. But when you go to the gym, you get there, you start lifting. You're like, oh, cool. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. Just one
Yes.
more. Just one more. It's just we have this weird mindset around things that just kind of been so distorted. And like you're saying, it's so distracted too. 'Cause a lot of us are so smart as human beings. We understand what we need to do, but not necessarily understand how to get there. And like you
Yes.
said, having a coach or someone as yourself to talk to help us create that vision, that clarity and understanding around it. It's
Yes.
so invaluable.
Yeah, that's why, yeah, I say it could be a coach or it could be just a friend, somebody who's got a vested interest in you,
Yeah.
and your environment is a big thing. So, who you hang around.
Ooh.
That's a big one, is who
100.
you hang around. 'Cause I used to hang around people that made me feel good, but they were either keeping me at my level or pulling me down, rather than what's been suggested by the most successful people is me being the dumbest person in the room basically is where I need to be. So there's people that I can learn from,
Yeah.
crumbs I can pick up, all different types of things, which is challenging a little bit, but once you get into that habit, it becomes something that feeds you and you become used to it. So if you get used to having growth mindset spiral habits that keep you going upward, you're going to get used to those things and that becomes a way of life instead of whatever your old habits were that may not have been as supportive toward what you want to see.
We forget that's how you build the discipline by changing and building those new habits. That creates discipline in your life, which I
Yes, big
never
time.
quite understood for the longest time. Right?
Yep.
I have a problem sometimes like trying to go to networking events, for example, and talk with people. Being in those rooms, it's hard. It's a lot. I'm on the spectrum. There's a lot of people, too much noise going on. But I know I need to be there. But I could find a million other things to do to not go there. I could go clean the barnacles off my boat or whatever. Anything.
Yep.
Just to not be doing what I know I need to and should be doing to have a better life and outcome that I'm trying to achieve.
Yep. Exactly. And how many of those excuses come up or distractions come up on a daily basis that we could divert our attention to that may
I
not
could
be
write
as
a
important?
500-page book daily, a book a day, 500
Yes.
pages.
Yeah. Those potential
It's amazing.
excuses or distractions can come up, like you said, every single day by the dozens if we let them and allow them.
Yeah. So my question for you regarding that, what are
Mhm.
things that you've helped with your clients and yourself to understand how to bridge those gaps for them, to help them kind of move forward and kind of get going?
Yeah, the most people I work with, well, let me tell you this, the range of people I work with is anywhere from 4 to 5-year-olds, 'cause I just
That's
realized that.
important.
Yeah, 4 to 5-year-olds on up to people in their 60s, 70s, 80s, or people who still have a growth mindset, wanna still learn and wanna accomplish something. So, the range is pretty much up there, but if I were to say an ideal range, it's probably people in their 30s to probably 50s who are looking to still make a difference in their life, to live out their life passionately. But just thinking back on that real quick, last year, I did a talk in Minneapolis where I was speaking to adults, doing a talk on LinkedIn marketing and generation and thought leadership. And 2 days later, I came back and I was talking to 4 and 5-year-olds about aviation and airplanes and all that. So I love all different variety of people, and I love talking about aviation. I love talking about a few other different things, but the whole point is I just love people in general. Where I used to not very much, because I I used to be more the have anxiety when it came to people and being extroverted, which
Hey,
people think I am, but being that introverted self is more comfortable and behind a screen or whatever. But going back to the question you asked is, how do you help people? I think people, a couple things. People need to be real with themselves and say, hey, am I living the life, whether that's in business or personally, am I living the life I want to live? And they have to be honest about that. And then number two, okay, am I willing to change? Is another question they need to ask themselves. Because if they're not willing to change, not willing to, you don't have to
mm,
do major changes. If you're shifting something and kind of putting your
you can't
toes.
force them to change? What do you mean?
Yeah, how many coaches does it take to force people to I'm not gonna even ask that question.
Well, okay, I
All
see
right.
your point.
Right, right. And yeah, that sometimes does work. Whether you think of coaches in sports, they may have a hard personality and they can kind of get some people to change on the team, but it's probably not going to be lasting change depending on the person. So really having that person going and thinking introspectively, do they want to change? Would they like to see something different? Are they willing to commit to themselves to make that change? And then what type of activities are you going to put in place to start to implement that change and see something different? And the simplest way I can put this is that even after I got my pilot's license 34 years ago, took me a year. I was 23 years old, and after they gave me my license, I still had insecurity problems. Like, why the heck did they give me a pilot's license when I don't even feel comfortable with myself, even though I've passed every practical and safety test to get that pilot certificate? I still mentally was filtering, ooh, I can fly by myself and all this, but I didn't really want to. So over time, I had to shift my mindset to both belief, capability, and I still go back once in a while. If I'm not comfortable with something in the airplane or I haven't flown that airplane enough, I will still buy time from an instructor things, but for the most part, I know I can fly the airplane, but sometimes the instrumentation is very different and I can fly. I've been checked out at least in 7 to 8 different aircraft, and they have different instrumentation, different air speeds, all different types of things. And I just want to be safe. When you become a pilot, I think most of us have this ego problem, and it's dumb, especially if you're going to jeopardize your safety or somebody else's. But the main part is, yeah, truly being willing to commit to yourselves that you're going to change. And I know for years and then decades, I was inputting a lot of positive stuff from Tony Robbins and all the greats, Grant Cardone and everybody else. And I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't taking action and matching those two, my knowledge to the action. And that was the most frustrating time in my life. And I sometimes look back and I've got to stay focused, say, nope, I'm here today. What have I learned? How can I move forward and take action rather than being so frustrated and regretful of the past? So I touch on that a little bit, but I know I can't stay on that. Otherwise, once again, I'm not taking action with things I'm
Yeah.
capable of doing. So truly, truly getting honest with yourself and saying, am I willing to change? And that doesn't take much because you just need a little bit, that 1% shift in a direction to start moving that boat in a different direction and start to achieve those outcomes that you want.
Ooh, so that was very powerful and very well said. I feel that too. I mean, I needed like 100% almost of misdirection to be moved. Sometimes I feel like it takes mountains to move you in the right direction, but really it's just me holding myself back by the talks I'm having in my head with myself, stories I'm telling myself. And that's something I've learned lately. Like, a lot of it's like you said, starts with yourself. A lot of it's in here. Changing those stories, talking to yourself better, giving yourself space, like you were saying earlier. I know there's a lot of people out there just trying to figure these things out. Maybe they're just starting on their journey right now. Maybe listen to this episode, they're gonna be like, whoa, it might give them a light bulb moment.
Yeah, that's huge, and I love the phrase that you're using is storytelling, because that's all it is we're just telling ourselves stories. One shift that I've noticed in the last year and a half, 2 years, since early 2024, before 2024, I did not ever look at myself as, "Ooh, do I know this particular subject that I can teach it or sell it as a service or whatever?" And I would say, "No, I wasn't formally trained in like marketing on LinkedIn or any of that kind of stuff, or creating videos or live webinars or any through LinkedIn." And I learned that in January of 2024. It took me a few months. And it was the most freaky thing putting my face in front of a video, because it took me more than 6 years. It's probably longer than that to just put a single post on
Preach it.
LinkedIn.
Preach it.
Yeah, and then finally I did it, and it's even in those first few months after I learned it, it still wasn't great, but I had to still implement it, do videos, be consistent, and now I just realized in the last 6 or 7 months, I'm like, "Wow, I'm just doing this without even getting anxious about it," because that's part of my habit of who I am today. And I never really transitioned to say, "Ooh, I'm a
Mm.
video guy," or "I'm gonna do LinkedIn live webinars," or be really visible on LinkedIn and create thought leadership. I really didn't think that, but I said, I'm just going to be in action on doing those things that are going to get me beyond. Because speaking for me is probably one of the most stressful things for most of my life that I looked at. And I think it's number one on the list of things people hate to do or most stressed about. And dying is like number 2 or 3 on the list. So people are, more afraid of speaking than they are of dying, which is so funny. But I understand it. I understand it. I was there. I understand it. And that's why I'm so passionate about coaching people in regards to imposter syndrome if they've got it. Because we all deal with it. We all deal with it.
Yeah.
But I've learned over this last year and a half, since early 2024, that now whenever I learn something, if I learn it and I think it can be valuable for somebody, that's going inside my coaching package. So no matter what it is, it's going in and I'm teaching it. So now I'm kind of transitioning. When I learn something, I'm implementing it fairly quickly now, like within a month to 3 months, rather than like I used to. I haven't really learned that. Give me 10 years and then I'll teach it to somebody. It's like, no, no, no.
I
I've
feel
learned some.
that so hard.
Yeah, yeah. So not really connecting. I've always said, nope, that's an imposter. I'm not that person. But now I just put on that particular hat, whatever that skill set is. Okay, I can be this for now. Just like I put on a father hat. I have 3 kids, and just at times, and just like I put on my husband hat, I'm married to my wife. I put on my business
Yes.
cap. And so I'm not that all the time. I'm not those things all the time, but at that moment, I can focus and be honed in instead of saying, nope, I'm not a father. I'm not well, when I'm at work or here or there. I'm not a business owner. I'm
After
not
five
a
o'clock, Father time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But when you need those things, you got those skill sets you can pull out, but we're not all things at all times.
Oh, I love how you said it. Not all things at all times. So I feel like sometimes we feel like we need to be everything for everyone and everything at all times. But
Yes.
that doesn't really help you. That, like we said earlier, that convolutes everything. And that's you start to get overwhelmed, stressed out, not knowing where to go, what to do. Like you were saying earlier about how you used to watch some of the greats and listen to them, they coach you. But then like you watch them, but then what? What do you do? It's like you're watching all this information, bringing it all in, but you're not taking any action. But then finally, you're able to align yourself and then put into your coaching program and then teach others how to do that. That's powerful. That's hard. That's some hard work. I'm still going through that myself, trying to find the alignment with my right identity of not who I was, not who I am now, but who I'm trying to become for myself in the future.
Yes.
And
Yeah, and
oof.
I hear that because 'cause I'm in that same journey, and now I kinda understand it a lot better, once again, since I've done it for myself, and I'm seeing progress in other people too, to shift some of those identities and not to latch onto something completely. I have a few values,
Yeah.
like I said, start from my faith and how I treat people, and that's pretty much who Corey is. And then now I'm just getting some upgrades, some add-ons, if you will, and I can use those things. And even I thought of for a long time I used to say, yeah, I'm going to be an author. I'm going to be an author. I'm going to be an author. I'm like, why am I saying that? Because when I decided to be a pilot, I wasn't a licensed pilot, but the first time I took a lesson, guess what? I'm doing the thing that a pilot would do. So when we get in action, if we start writing a book, you become an author, or at least your book's on the way. If you start pilot lessons, you may not be certificated, but you're on the path. If we want to travel the world, what are we looking for? Are we looking for Airbnbs to maybe purchase or to stay at? Are we going to go on a cruise ship and sail the world? Or are we going to have our own sailboat or whatever? Or in my case, I'm flying around the country. One of my goals might be shallow, but it's like I've got to do this. Is continuing to look at different places when I travel around the company. And I love ribs and I love barbecue, hot wings and all those kinds of things. But I want to be able to
Ooh, making
try,
me hungry.
yeah, and Chinese food and all this different kind of stuff. I used to hate food when I was younger, but now I just have a passion. Whenever I go someplace, I want to be able to try different cuisines and types of food, so I can say, "Oh, yep, that place in Texas did have awesome food," or this place in New York, or whatever. But just throwing a little more spice to life and painting a bigger picture instead of just I'm going to go to A and I'm coming back and come back to B. Just A to B, A to B, and not really smell the flowers. Because otherwise, what's the use of living life if we're not passionate, if we don't have much
Ooh,
meaning in all of this kind of stuff?
that is so true and powerful. I love how you said that because you're building onto your identity. Your
Yes.
identity isn't just one layered; it's multi-layered. And like I remember a couple of years back, had this girl I was dating, and her mom would like if I had mentioned something, she'd be like, "Oh, why are you paying attention to that? That's not your job. That's not what you do. Just stay in your lane." And I'm like, "Whoa, whoa! This is how you learn. This is how you understand." But some people have that mindset of, "I know one thing. I stay in one thing. That's all I do."
Mm,
But like you were saying, you have to build on that identity. It's always building, always learning, always creating. That is a really powerful thing to understand that I wish more people understood. You're not who you are, but you are who you're becoming. You're going to be. It's like, ooh, that's so powerful.
yeah, and we have to. Yeah, I mean, like you were saying earlier, we have to get out of our comfort zones. We have to be willing to see
Yeah.
the possibility for us and define our lives. Because if we're not in control, like I said, in control of our lives, you can't control everything. But if you're not intentional on a regular basis to know what your ultimate goals are, like I said, long term, 30, 40 years from now, where do you want to see yourself? that time's going to fiddle away, or when people think, oh, I'm going to retire at 65 or 70, whatever, and all of a sudden they don't realize, wow, your health is gone. In most cases, for many people, their health is not the same. Inflation is
Mm.
one thing people have not considered over these years, like, ooh, I know where I'm going to be. And so you got to have some type of balance and look at those things long term, so you're not caught off guard when these challenges or things happen in your life.
Oh, I always tell people that if you don't take the control, someone else will.
Yes.
Like if you don't fix your fitness and you don't start now, then your aging will take control of you, and then it'll be too late. And it has control, not you. You have
Right.
to keep that control.
Yeah.
That's a really powerful concept.
Yeah, and I was gonna say when people take control, it's so subtle in so many different ways. And one of the ways I look at it is, Amazon. A lot of people and most people buy from Amazon, but I think we get way too many packages from Amazon every week in our home.
What? What do you mean? Don't look back here.
And part of that, some of the things we need possibly, but a lot of the things are just what we want.
No, we don't need them.
And I think it goes against, okay, where are we putting where are we investing our time and money into? And pretty much it's Amazon. We're feeding Amazon's wealth. So I think we could be just a little more intentional on some of the things we buy. But once we get into that habit, those habits are so important. The habit of just pressing send, or buy and buy.
I
It's
need
so
you to stop yelling at me right now, sir.
the challenge now, back in the day, it was a little bit better because it took 2 to 4 weeks to get here. Now you can many times hit send and that thing is at your door, sometimes the same day, if not by
Yeah,
tomorrow. So
scary.
it creates that, I don't know if it's an endorphin rush, whatever that is, but it can be so challenging. So I've had to talk to my kids
Well,
about, hey, when you look at building wealth and what kind of life do you want to have 20, 30 years from now? Do you want to be possibly dealing with debt and having a hard time paying your payments? Or do you want to have a little more manageable things by you setting maybe better goals and spending your money or what you buy right now? Because if you keep this habit up, things are going to get more expensive. And then you don't realize that it's those retailers that are taking control of all your investments. Now they're getting all
mm,
that. wealth rather than you putting some of that back in your life. So if you have percentages or a balance of what you're doing, that's way better than just a lot of people just consume, consume, consume. Consume does have a part, but it's a percentage.
Yeah, I feel way too many people are consuming. I mean, I used to be there myself as well. But it's so interesting because some of us can't really see into the future. We don't understand we can't even conceptualize the future. It's like something we can't touch. How do we know it's real? How do we know it exists? A lot of us is like we have to live in the now. I see the now, I feel the now, I see myself here.
And it makes me
It's
feel
hard
good.
to really get out. Yeah, and that's what you said earlier, the comfort zone. I'm comfortable right now. Why does anything else matter? Why my future? Why do I need to do anything? And that kind of gets you kind of stuck right there in that infinite loop of disparity.
Yes. And I've heard this many times too that, if you're easy on yourself now, life is going to be hard later. If you're hard on yourself or more disciplined, more intentional now, life most likely will tend to be easier later in many different respects because you'll be able to handle some of those things that come up because you
Yeah.
have a resilient mindset, strategies to be able to work through the challenges that happen. Everybody wants
Yeah.
to win the lotto or the millions and billions, but how do we
It's a
manage?
fool's errand.
Yeah. Yeah, how do we manage that? How do we grow it? So it could be a worse problem for people if they don't have that mindset on money and maybe have some
Yeah.
strategic advisors around them to help them invest that money. Then if they're left to their own devices, they maybe have learned to manage a little and now they're dumped on with millions and billions and most of that money ends up back pretty much where it came from or through consuming,
That's so
consuming.
true. I looked at like businesses also. Like if you're running a business, oh, you're trying to start a business, there's a lot of things where if you can't manage your money, that's going to reflect in your business. Or when you start growing your business, you're going to understand all these clients will come in. You won't know how to handle that very well. So I started working on. I used to have poor money management skills, for example. Like
Okay.
I've been learning these past couple of months. I'm getting it. I'm understanding it. I'm saving. I'm being a human being, but you just want to lay on the couch and cry and eat ice cream sometimes. You gotta keep doing the work, unfortunately, no matter how good that ice cream tastes. Actually, I want ice cream right now. I'll be right back.
I'll be back too. Give me a minute. Yeah.
Yeah, word from our sponsors.
Right. Right. Yeah, and speaking of ice cream, that's been one of my downfalls is I've grown up on sweets. I still have a challenge with sweets. So I deal with
Mhm.
diabetes right now and medications and trying to exercise and be reasonable and I've got to get a handle on that because my doctors have told me, Corey, you do not want to have an event of a stroke or heart attack or a loss of a limb. He's like, "You're doing pretty well right now in my late 50s, but want to make sure you're keeping on that track because we keep."
I just heard about that. You could lose a limb.
Yes.
What?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and I
That's
think
crazy.
yeah, and a lot of us have been given many chances on our health, in our wealth, in our relationships, many chances, many opportunities, many calls for help, so to speak, and tips, but many of us don't take them because we think, "Oh, no, we have
When
tomorrow.
is enough enough?
Yeah, I'll procrastinate. I'll do that tomorrow. I'll take care of that. I'll get real. I'll get serious about that tomorrow." And some of these things we don't get second chances on, you know?
That's so true. I know I feel that because I was diagnosed pre-diabetic. And that's why I learned that it can be reversed. A lot of people don't understand that or they do, but they don't get all the work that's involved. Complete lifestyle, identity change,
Yeah.
getting out of the comfort zone, all these things we talked about, getting healthy. All these things are connected from your business to your health. Like having a coach like yourself to help people understand the value of these things. It's phenomenal what it can do. It's powerful.
Yeah, it totally is. And if you that's the key thing. Another phrase that I've heard for a long period of time is that a rising tide raises all ships. So if you have some great goals established that you're taking action on, many of those can feed into other goals you have. Because if you're eating healthy, well, gee, it kind of in
Oh, girl.
helps you to look toward exercising on a regular basis, so you look and feel better. And then that may
Yes.
help you with your money mindset too, that, "Wow, if I'm looking and feeling better and possibly gonna live longer, I wanna have my money in place or my investments or my wealth established so I don't have issues with that." And vice versa. I've seen a lot of wealthy
Yes.
people, well-to-do people, but as soon as they get into their 60s or retire, their activity goes down, their health goes away, and they've got all their bills paid off, they got all this money, but they can't enjoy it because they don't have the health and
Ooh, that's
mobility.
a scary trap.
Yes, yes, and none of us see ourselves there, but some of us end up there, and that's some of the things that were in our control. Sometimes things are out of our control, some things you can't help genetics, but bless you. But how we eat,
There you
how we exercise, and our positive growth mindset can help those things with wherever we're at down the road, but we can't just let it to be happenstance or but to go by chance.
Oh, I love that because I was watching a podcast recently on that, where they're talking about we need to make healthy a thing again because people have taken the comfort and understanding that as you age and get older, this is how it is. This is how it's supposed to be. This is how my parents were. This is what I learned watching my family. But that does not have to be the way it has to be. They say that right. It doesn't have to be that way. Like,
Yes.
like working on your fitness. My plan is by the time I'm 70, I'm gonna be like Hulk Hogan. Hell yeah, brother. And then, well, maybe looking a little bit better, looking at him in his prime, but in my
Right.
70s. You know,
That'd be
that's my
awesome.
goal. So I can lift myself up. I can still lift my wife and kids up. You know, I saw this video of this couple. They're like in their 70s and 80s. They're working out together. They were on the journey starting in their 50s, I think, or their 60s. And it's just this amazing transformation of them coming together more, working out together. You just watch their relationship. I just went up in the videos and the transformation. So you work on these things, you build these habits. It can work no matter what age you are. You just have to build that resilience and mindset that we were talking about.
Yes.
Woo!
That's huge. Like you said, developing those relationships, whether that's with your spouse, your significant other, whatever, that's huge because I believe when things start in the home, they're more
Yeah.
likely to continue on, especially when they're developing good habits and relationships. It's got to start in the home because if you're not doing it there, it's going to be very difficult to kind of be this two-faced, hey, I'm this way over here and I'm this way over here. It's hard to support anything when you're kind of going back and forth like that. But that, once again, is
Yeah, that scares
community.
me.
Yeah, community and environment, who you're around can help to be a great example. I just happened to think of this. Probably about 6 months ago, I was walking my dog through my neighborhood in downtown where I live, and within a 10-minute period, I think I had 3 or 4 different people go by me that were walking, and then 2 of them were running. All 4 of them were the age of 60 plus, and I would say 60 to 70s.
Hell yeah.
2 of them were running, which I have a hard time jogging or running. I'm like, "What the heck?" And then
Damn.
2 of the other ones were walking their dog or walking by themselves. I'm like, "What a great example I just experienced in the last 10 minutes of these people in and about around me doing this." And I'm like, "Oh, I can't run, I can't jog." I've got some
You
issues with
can walk. Get out there.
Yes, yes, you can do something.
I go rollerblading time to time. Actually, need to do that today.
Yeah, yeah. But that's what we've gotta look at is what are our capabilities, and can we expand them in a healthy way? Can we add on to them?
Yeah.
Like I said, add these upgrades or add-ons and just start doing that, And, we just gotta
Yeah.
realize what we've got, not necessarily compare ourselves, but if we're around those people, that influence does affect us.
I like how you said that, not compare yourself and the influence, because we do have to be careful not to understand that we are all different. Like example, we don't eat the same, sleep the same, like the same people. So not everything's gonna work for say what works for you is not gonna work for me. But we need to try things or see what does work. Maybe compare it to a point, but then you try like, okay, this doesn't work. Let me try something different.
Yes.
Don't just stop there. You gotta keep trying things that do. I mean, for example, with me, like I was taking magnesium, and I found one dose doesn't work for me, or it kept me up at night. It was supposed to put me to sleep. So I tried a different dose, and it worked. But they
Mm,
say this one's for something else. So it's interesting. So
yeah,
you just have to try things. You have to be willing to try, willing to keep going, not
yes.
just get stuck at that wall. That wall's a dangerous place. Lots of blood.
Yep, I agree. I agree. Yeah, we do have to, like you said, customize and internalize what's working for us or not, and just be willing, have that willingness to change and try new things. Because yeah, there is no one size fits all. There is no one
There
size.
isn't.
Yeah.
I'm tired of people saying that too, like, "Oh, this is cookie cutter." No, I am a human being. I eat, breathe, and live, but we are different and we are the same,
Yep.
but in different ways. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
We are complicated creatures.
Yes. And I was going to say, I kind of look at us as since we have all this tech going on right now, things are growing, things are changing, evolving. We're like a computer. We are a computer. We just need to keep
Yeah.
upgrading and keep adding to the system because those old programs up here and in our bodies, those old programs may not continue to work efficiently with what's going on today.
Ooh, that was very well said. I love how you said that. Looking at us as a computer. That means probably I need to look probably time for another upgrade then. Shoot.
Yeah.
I find my Arnold suit.
Just make sure you do the upgrade after hours so it doesn't affect what's going on now. I'm kidding.
Ooh, that is actually I should write that down. I have to remember that. I'll do it in the middle of this podcast. I'm like, oh wait, oops, my bad. Cory, I want to thank you for coming on here today. It's been a real pleasure talking with you. I really enjoyed the conversation. It's been very genuine and amazing.
Well, thank you.
There are a lot of things that we've experienced in life, very common. Yeah.
Yeah. I appreciate being here, and it has been fun, Justin.
Yes. I would like to ask you a few questions before we go. First one, before we leave, is there anything that you would like to leave our audience with of great value and where they can reach out to you as well?
Yeah, I have my biggest presence right now. I'm upgrading some other things, but my biggest presence is on LinkedIn. So if they want to connect with me on LinkedIn, definitely love to connect with you there. And if you have any challenges or questions in your life or your business that you're looking to overcome or in your career, they can contact me there. I also have a phone number, 734-219-5234. And then also too, I also have some links that I will share that a free 5 series email that I'm offering, the first 10 people that subscribe to the email. I'd be willing to do a 30-minute leadership call on how to break through their bottlenecks in a 30-minute. And we can talk about some things and get some things clarified, maybe help you get one step closer to reaching the goals you have. And then I also have a speaker one sheet if anybody's interested in that or looks for keynote speakers. So I have that also that I'll be sharing.
Thank you so much. I'll definitely put all that stuff in the show notes. To wrap up the show, I have one last question. Are you ready? What does it mean to you to be a human being?
That's a great question. I think the biggest thing for me is to live and live passionately and authentically. Before my mom passed away 11 years ago, she used to always say that life is for the living. And so we've been given a gift, and this gift we probably shouldn't waste it. And I know that's one thing I was doing is wasting my life, just trying to get out safely and like, oh, let me get through a lot of this stuff and I'll get past it. I'm not going to deal with it. I'll just get past it. So I hopefully make it out alive, so to speak. And even Les Brown, who's a speaker in the last 40 years, a very big motivational speaker, but he would say, there's no safe position in life. Nobody's going to get out alive. And that's one thing I've had to throw in my head. There's no safe position in life. Nobody's going to get out alive. So why not live it passionately? Why not be authentic, be more in touch with your feelings, influencing other people? In my case, creating better leaders. I feel everybody's a leader. A lot of people don't see themselves, that identity trap. They don't see themselves as a leader, but everybody has influence. Everybody can make a difference or an impact wherever they are in life or their community. So I think just living passionately, being authentic, and then the biggest thing is take charge today and be intentional on who you want to become and what impact you want to create 30, 40 years from now, and then backtrack that with your goals and activities and start doing that thing that says you have become that thing, whether it's a runner, a doctor, a traveler, a businessman, a salesperson, a coach, whatever it is, a pilot. But yeah, be very intentional and start today because we're not promised tomorrow. And thank you so much, Justin. I appreciate being here.
Thank you for coming on this show. You have a wonderful day, Cory. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Take care, Justin.
Bye.